Morning broke heavy with unease. Though the sheriff and his men had chased the outlaws into the night, John knew better than to believe it was over. Men like that didn't quit. They would return, meaner, more desperate, and more dangerous than before. Daniel sat on the porch steps, staring into the canyon. His face was pale, not from wounds but from the weight of guilt. "John," he said quietly, "I can't stay. Not with them hunting me. You've already risked too much." John crossed his arms, his jaw hard as stone. "You think leaving makes Emily safer? You're wrong. They'll come whether you're here or not. They know she saw them. They know I stood against them. This isn't just your fight anymore, it's ours." Daniel looked down, his hands trembling. He thought of Emily's voice, small but brave, standing between him and death. A child's belief in him, a man with nothing to offer but scars and stories. That belief had saved his life. Could he truly walk away from it now? That evening, the storm came. Not of rain, but of hooves and gunfire. The outlaws descended like wolves under a blood-red sunset, their rifles cracking through the air. The sheriff and his men had not returned, leaving the homestead isolated. John and Daniel scrambled for cover as bullets tore into the barn. Emily screamed, clutching her doll, and John shouted, "Get her inside." Daniel grabbed her hand, pulling her into the cabin. He knelt, gripping her shoulders, his voice fierce but gentle. "Emily, listen to me. No matter what happens, you are brave. You hear me? Braver than anyone I've ever known." Her big brown eyes filled with tears. "Don't go, Mr. Daniel." His throat tightened, but he forced a smile. "I'll always be with you. Always." He pressed the feather she had once given him into her tiny hand. "This will remind you." Then he stood, heart pounding, and stepped back outside. John was pinned down behind a water trough, outnumbered and outgunned. The outlaws advanced with cruel confidence. The scarred leader shouted, "Hand him over, rancher, and maybe we let you live." John spat into the dirt. "Over my dead body." And then Daniel did something neither John nor the outlaws expected. He walked out from cover, straight into the open. "Enough," he shouted, his voice carrying across the homestead. "This ends with me." The gunfire stilled. Dust swirled around him as he stood tall, no weapon in hand, just raw defiance. "You want me? Take me. But leave them. The girl's just a child. The man's done nothing but show me mercy. You kill them, and you prove you're nothing but cowards." The scarred outlaw sneered, raising his rifle. Big words from a dead man. But before he could fire, John's shot rang out. The leader staggered back, clutching his shoulder. Chaos erupted, gunfire blazing from both sides. Daniel ran, not away, but forward. With a burst of courage born from desperation, he tackled the outlaw leader to the ground. They wrestled in the dust, fists flying, until the days slipped into weeks, and Daniel grew stronger with every passing sunrise. His wounds, once raw and threatening, were now thin scars across his side. Emily adored him, she followed him around the ranch as though he were part of the family, and in some ways, he had become just that. He taught her how to read from the scraps of books he had salvaged from his pack, and in return, Emily brought him treasures from the canyon, smooth stones, feathers, and wildflowers. For John, the transformation was harder to accept. His daughter's laughter rang brighter since Daniel's arrival, yes, but shadows lingered in his heart. Trust was not something easily given in the West, especially not to a man found half dead in the canyon. Still, he couldn't deny that the homestead had begun to feel less like a prison of grief and more like a home again. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Daniel sat with John on the porch, sipping from a tin cup of water. Silence stretched between them until Daniel finally spoke. "I owe you my life, John. Both of you. I won't forget it. John grunted, fixing his gaze on the fields. Don't thank me. Thank the girl. She's the one who found you. She's got a heart too big for this world. Daniel smiled faintly. Her mother's spirit, I'd wager. At the mention of his late wife, John stiffened. The wound of her loss never truly healed, it only lay hidden beneath the surface, ready to ache at the lightest touch. But instead of snapping, he nodded quietly, accepting the truth of Daniel's words. That night, long after Emily had gone to sleep, the peace shattered. Hooves thundered in the distance. John jolted awake, his instincts sharper than a knife. He grabbed his rifle and stepped onto the porch just as 3 riders appeared against the moonlight. Their silhouettes were jagged, their presence heavy with menace. Daniel appeared beside him, his face draining of color. It's them, he whispered. John's grip tightened. The outlaws? Daniel nodded slowly. They won't leave until they finish what they started. The riders reined their horses to a stop just yards from the house. The man at the front, tall, with a scar running down his cheek, smirked through the darkness. Well, well. Thought we left you for buzzards, schoolman, he drawled, his voice like gravel. Didn't figure you'd crawl out alive. Daniel stepped forward, trembling but resolute. You've already taken everything from me. What more do you want? The outlaw's grin widened. Reckon I don't like loose ends. His gaze shifted toward the cabin, where a faint glow flickered in the window. Or new friends. John raised his rifle. That's far enough. The outlaws laughed, their voices echoing across the plain. Look at this, another sneered. Farmer thinks he's a hero. The tension was a noose tightening around them. Daniel swallowed hard. He knew what men like this were capable of, he had seen it firsthand. But now, it wasn't his life alone at stake. Emmy, the morning sun crept over the horizon, spilling golden light across the canyon walls. The air was still cool, carrying with it the faint scent of sage and earth, and for a brief moment the world seemed untouched, quiet, eternal. It was in this silence that Emily, a small girl of just 7 years, pressed her cheek against the rough wooden fence of the homestead, watching the fields come alive. She had a curious way about her, the kind of restless wonder only a child could carry, as if each day promised the discovery of something the grown-ups were too weary to see. Her father, John Carter, a rugged rancher with lines of hardship etched into his face, was already at work, saddling the horses. Life on the frontier was never easy, but he carried his burdens silently, like the canyons themselves, solid, unyielding. He loved Emily more than anything, yet grief shadowed his eyes. Her mother had passed 2 winters ago, and though he did everything to hide it, Emily could feel the hollowness in him. Children notice things that words never reveal. That morning, Emily noticed something else. A flash of movement at the edge of the field, a small pony, pale and delicate, stepping out from the brush. Its mane shimmered like spun gold in the early sun. Emily gasped softly. She had never seen this pony before, and instinctively, she slipped through the fence before her father could notice. The pony didn't run. It simply looked back at her, its dark eyes calm, almost inviting. Emily followed, her small boots crunching against the dirt. The creature moved with an otherworldly grace, as though guiding her somewhere. Step by step, it led her away from the ranch, past the tall grass, and toward the mouth of the canyon where red walls rose like ancient guardians. Emily, her father's voice rang out behind her. She froze, torn between answering and continuing after the pony. But something deep inside told her she needed to follow. So she did. The canyon narrowed as she entered, its shadows wrapping around her. Sunlight broke in shafts above, painting the stone walls in amber and fire. The pony stopped at a bend, then vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Emily's heart sank, but then, she heard it. A faint cry. Not an animal. A person. Emily hurried forward, her little hands brushing against the stone for balance. At the end of the passage, she found something that made her breath catch. A man, ragged, bloodied, and barely conscious, lay slumped against the rocks. His shirt was torn, his sides soaked with crimson. His face was rugged, weathered, and streaked with dirt, but his eyes, when they fluttered open, held a startling gentleness. "Help," he whispered, his voice a broken rasp. Emily's heart raced. She was only a child, but in that moment, she felt the weight of something far greater. She remembered how her mother once told her. Kindness doesn't wait until you're old enough. It begins the moment you see someone in need. Without hesitation, she knelt beside